Hello, and thank you for joining me. I am Amy Politano with LaDonnaStrega.com. And today I'm going to chat real quick about a reading that I went and did at the Lindenwald House in Elmira, New York. This was back in May of 2025 that I went there. And sadly, this was a house, the house is absolutely destroyed at the moment. There was a fire there, as well as many other horrible things that is just completely dilapidated. So it does need to be torn down. The sad thing is that there are spirits trapped there. So I would love to be able to get actually inside of it and help the spirits on. I did do a video or an audio recording of it, and sadly, it was on an old recorder, and I did lose the audio of that. So I'm just going to kind of go in brief of what my conversation was and how everything kind of happened. So with the Lindenwald Haus, I went there, and it was an absolutely amazing house at one time, and it was built to be an actual retirement home for people. And so, as you can see, it's all boarded up. The windows are mostly out, and this part is actually the old sanctuary. They had a sanitarium there that they added onto it many years later. And so this is a close-up picture of the sanitarium, which also is where the huge fire was kind of right here. You can see where you can just kind of completely see through, and there's no roof there at all. So where I was on this porch right here. So sadly, there were squatters in the back, so I was not very comfortable going in the back there. So I went up to the house because this was a nice area. There were lots of dead leaves around, so if anybody was going to sneak up on me, I could definitely hear them. Um, because when I'm doing a reading, I usually close my eyes. That allows me to just not have one of my senses, and therefore it makes the other senses more in tune. And I listen to my spirit guides or guide, when I am doing a reading. She's always there helping me when I need to just kind of get to the other side. I do have a process when I am doing a reading. I call upon Hecate and Isis. Those are two of my favorite goddesses that I use to help protect me, as well as help me be able to speak with and see the dead. Allows me to kind of make that curtain a little thinner. That will definitely be another video that I do about my magical bubble. So I went up onto the porch and kind of looked around, and the first thing that I saw was a lot of the residual energy. So there's either residual energy or there's actually spirit energy there. So the first thing I saw was the residual energy, and it was definitely the nurses hanging out, smoking cigarettes. This would seem like their break porch. This is where they hung out at certain times, right? And so I went over here. There's a door that's kind of back there, and the window was knocked out, so it was boarded up. But there was probably about good 2 inches that was open, and you can see into the house. And it's just completely dilapidated, and there was no doorknob on there or anything. So I put my hand on the door, and touching things is very, very strong. That's a perfect way how to read things for me. It's again, it's another sense. It's the touch, the power of touch is very powerful. And so I was had my hand on the door, and I'm just kind of quiet and I'm listening, and I hear my guide say, "There's somebody looking at you through the door." And my first question was, a real person or a ghost? And she immediately said a ghost. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I can handle a ghost. I don't want to deal with a real icky person. So I was like, okay, great. So I opened my eyes and I looked in there, and there was an old man. Now, I don't see an actual person, if you will. Maybe like some other people do. I see it all in my mind's eye. So I could actually see an older man. He was smaller. He was balding. He was in a light clothes, like a sweater, had a sweater on. And I was like, oh, hello. And he's like, hello. And I said, how are you? And good. And I said, I can't even, this is why I'm so upset that I lost my recording. But I just kind of start talking to him very politely and asking him, you know, do you like being there? And he said, no, I would really like to go. And I said, okay, well, why can't you go off? And he said, we can't get out. And I said, you can't come out onto the porch. He said, no, we're trapped inside. And I thought that was very interesting. And then I kind of put my feelers out, if you will. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I can't get in. So that leads me to believe that somebody put a protection spell on here, and it was probably for a good thing. There were some definitely bad energies there, but I think that's from nasty people in our time and age doing some horrific things there. So that was some other things that I saw, but that was very sad to me that I couldn't help him off, and so this protection spell again was probably for a good thing, but in that sense, it trapped the spirits in there. And I said, he goes, then he asked me, he goes, can you put your fingers through the hole, like the doorknob hole that where the doorknob was missing? And I said, no, it most certainly will not. And he said, oh, well, I'm so lonely. And I said, oh, well, why are you lonely? You have other people in there. And he goes, well, I'm so bored with them. So that made me laugh. And um, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I can't get in. And I said, and I'm sorry, I can't help you. I can't send you off. I said, if I could, would you like to go off? And he said, oh, very much so. And I said, would everybody else like to go off? And he was quiet for a moment. And I could see him kind of look behind him. So he then looked behind, like in this direction. And there's a huge staircase right here. And I saw two women on the staircase. One was older and one was a little bit younger. It was kind of, or smaller, if you will, maybe not younger. And so they were right there and they were shaking their heads. Yes, like they would very much like to go on. And what first drew me to this house was there was a woman in white sitting right here on this porch. And I felt like she doesn't want to go on. And then after further retrospect, I realized that she's a nurse there. So whether she died there on the premises, I do not know. But she's there because she has patients there still. So if the patients can go off, if those spirits can go off, then she will probably gladly leave. But right now, she was like, no. When I asked, and when I asked her when she wanted to go off, because then I came to this part of the porch and I tried to talk to her because that's where I saw her, but realized she was everywhere. She could go everywhere she wanted to, but she didn't really come out. But I could hear her say no when I asked, do you want to go off? And she said no. So then I told him, I said, I'm very sorry, I can't help you. And he asked if I could come back and see him again. And I said, maybe, but probably not, because again, it's not a very safe place to really be. And so that was my reading at the Lindenwald House. I've had some really interesting conversations with people that ask, what happens if they tear this house down before the spirits are gone? And after speaking with my guide and waiting quite some time for an answer back, so I don't know if she had to go to her guides and ask, find out, because I ask all kinds of questions because her and I have many wonderful talks, but again, another video. And so she let me know that if a house gets burnt, like we had a church burn and it was completely, that would send the spirits off. Fire and mass water, like there was a horrific flood and this entire building was flooded. That would send the spirits off, something like that. So a fire would send it off. But if it was just to be torn down, if the spirits were strong enough, they would most likely attach to something within it. So my first thought was the two women on the stairwell, they would most likely attach themselves to a piece of wood, part of the banister, something. And then they would forever be trapped in there. And that's really upsetting to me. That's really sad. So that's why I would love to be able to get into the house, and find a way to help these spirits go on. So if you can please definitely subscribe to my page and like this video, and definitely go to my website, ladonnastrega.com, send me a message if you are also a fellow medium, and if you would also like to help, initially I would like to have a minimum of three, because of course the power of three makes a coven. But if we can get 6 to 9 or whatever, if we can get a group of people to go here in the middle of the day, it's definitely not something that needs to be at night. Hollywood just totally ruins so much stuff, it makes it ridiculous. So you can go any time of the day, and I would really like to help these spirits off. I would like to send them off before this building is destroyed, because it definitely, I think it's beyond repair. And it's sad because it is an amazing building, and it was built for a beautiful thing. I feel like the nurses there truly cared about it. The reason why this was built was to truly care for the elderly. And even when the sanitarium was built on the other side, they still cared for them. I saw a woman in the window because I parked on that other side, and I asked her, I said, would you like to come out? She goes, I can't come out. And I was like, okay, they're all trapped in there. So that's what led me to believe that somebody probably put a protection spell on here that sadly trapped them inside as well. So again, like this video, and follow my page, and check me out on ladonnastrega.com, and let me know if you would like a reading on any type of place and or any object, and I would definitely love to be able to help you. Thank you again, and I hope everybody has a blessed day.